Hey everyone, Andy Raffel from eTeknix.com, and every so often we end up getting a system in for review that, I don't know, we kind of have to look at in a very subjective way to see if it's really worth you guys going out there and buying it, or if it's actually worth building it yourself. So let's have a look at something from a brand that we've never seen before, AlphaSync Gaming. Let's do this. The latest gaming gear from MSI, featuring the GK50 low-profile mechanical gaming keyboard, the GM50 mouse featuring durable on-run switches and a PixArt sensor, and the GH50 with its powerful 40mm drivers, virtual 7.1 surround, and much more. Combine the three for the very best gaming experience. Find out more by clicking the link in the description below. So for anyone who's seen, I guess, any of our previous videos where we look at system builds from system integrators, what you actually know is we kind of take a little bit of a different view to it. Instead of, I don't know, I guess, kind of looking at more the components and performance. Yes, we are going to look at all that, but we're more about kind of the build quality and why you should buy something from brand A or brand B or brand C. And that's exactly what we want to do today, because AlphaSync Gaming, for anyone who doesn't know, is actually kind of a spin-off brand from eBuyer. So in the UK, we've got eBuyer, the retailer, and they sell computer components, nothing sort of out of the ordinary there. But they've decided to go down the route of actually trying to become a system integrator. But they want to kind of, from the chats that I've had with them, they want to differentiate themselves from eBuyer. Yes, even though they are owned by eBuyer, they don't want to sort of be put into that realm of being eBuyer gaming or anything like that. So they wanted to kind of brand it as, you know, their own independent thing. And AlphaSync Gaming, I don't know, I think it's a pretty cool name, to be honest. So inside the box, basically we get a little box of goodies, AlphaSync branded, so we're off to a good start. Inside there, it's kind of where you'd expect, I guess, everything that you'd expect to have when you were to build a PC yourself, without all the huge amounts of boxes that are just going to sit in your attic, you know, until the end of time. But we get things like our Windows 10 code, we get the instruction manual for the case, we get warranty information, we get the instructions for the power supply. Straight away, I'm seeing a lot of Corsair here, so I already believe maybe we're onto a little bit of a winner, because it shows that they've chosen some decent components from, I guess, a reputable brand. We also get our Wi-Fi antennas, we get our kettle lead, obviously UK kettle lead. We also get various kind of extra cables for the power supply. So this is always good, because if you want to upgrade your system at a later date, you don't have to scramble around trying to find the appropriate stuff. Everything that you basically need is essentially here. So all of your manuals and everything for upgrading at a later date, because while this is a pretty decent spec system, and I will get onto that in a little bit, you are going to find that, I don't know, maybe in a few years' time, you still want to keep this system, but maybe you just want to upgrade the graphics card. So what you can do is you might find that the graphics card that's in here at the moment might only have a single 6-pin or a single 8-pin, and the new graphics card that you upgrade to, you might need an extra cable. There it is in the box. Other than that, packaging material, this is something that I really kind of look at, because I want to make sure that if you're going to buy a system from a system integrator, you want to make sure that it's packaged correctly. So to start with, we have got some really kind of heavy duty cardboard that's, I guess, folded in such a way that it's going to hold everything in place. We also have, and this is really hard to see in this room because obviously, I guess the amount of space and the amount of room that I have in here isn't exactly plentiful, should we say. So let's try and get it out and try and show you exactly how the system comes inside the box without it all kind of falling over. So this is what we get. So obviously that piece of cardboard was sitting up here nice and folded. We also get these quite heavy duty pieces of foam, but it is quite flexible in the middle as well, which means that the system can move about, which I can actually see the point of that. It means that if need be, there is kind of wiggle room in here, whereas it's something hard to explain, but if it was completely solid, you might find that it doesn't have the room to move, and if a courier was to drop it, it would just kind of stop, and it would be as simple as that, whereas having the ability to move actually makes it a little bit different. So, big box, AlphaSync branded. If I move that down to there, we can actually have a look at the system itself. So, like I say, two kind of flexible pieces of foam on there. And I can already straight away see inside the system that it has expanding foam in there. Now, we've had systems from a variety of different system integrators over the years, and some decide to go with bubble wrap, some decide to go with expanding foam, some with polystyrene. There's many different ways to skin a cat. Personally, I prefer expanding foam. I think it does the job specifically for the system in question. So for this one, what you actually find is they put the expanding foam in, they kind of press it in two places, they kind of try to wrap it around the GPU, and then what happens is it expands. So here's the first view of the system. So we can see that it is a Corsair case. I'm going to take the expanding foam out just so we can get an idea as to kind of what we're dealing with on the inside. Now, with this system, I believe you can actually buy it in two different colours. So you could have, like we've got here, with the black, or you can buy the white version, which you might actually be able to see. If I move this out of the way in a second, you might be able to see on the monitor behind me, because essentially what it is, and if I move that out of the way, you can see the white version just on the screen behind me. So what it actually is the Spec 06 case from Corsair. So with the expanding foam in place, you can see that as we remove it, it is actually kind of shaped to the system. So it shapes around the CPU cooler, it shapes around the graphics card, and keeps everything neat and tidy. Because anyone who's actually bought a system before, pre-built, you'll probably know that the worst part about transporting a system is the graphics card, because it can kind of sag and put unnecessary weight on it and then rip the PCI expansion slot actually clean off the motherboard. Now, what I like to look for inside a system that is pre-built is kind of what they've done on the business side. So this is the business side. I want to see what they've done in terms of cable management. And so far, things look pretty damn decent. Obviously, the case has a lot to do with that in terms of hiding wires and pass-throughs and where you can actually come through with stuff. But even little things. So the graphics card, for instance, has an 8-pin PCI Express connector and also a 6-pin. But what they've actually done is they've taken the extra kind of 2-pin and just slotted it down the side of where the 6-pin is. So it kind of looks like an 8-pin's in there, just to kind of hide it so that it's not just dangling around. They've also cable tied the graphics card connectors together and have it positioned so that it actually comes down into the bottom through the PSU shroud. Other than that, we've got the 24-pin up here. Everything else looks pretty neat and tidy. Now, for some reason, they have decided not to plug in the 4-pin connector on the motherboard. It's not an essential thing unless you are looking to, I guess, use extreme overclocking and want to go that little bit further. It's not going to make a huge amount of difference, but yeah, personally, I would have liked to have seen that in there. In terms of some of the specs, let's talk through exactly what's inside. So in terms of the CPU, to start with, they've gone with the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X. Obviously, this is a 3.6 GHz processor that boosts up to 4.4. In terms of the memory, they've gone with 16 gig of Corsair Vengeance LPX 3200 MHz using two 8 gig sticks. For the hard drive, we've got a 240 gig Corsair MP510 NVMe drive and also a 2 TB Seagate Barracuda for hosting all of your games. In terms of the graphics card, we've got the Asus ROG Strix RTX 2060 Super. The power supply is the Corsair 750 watt TX series, and the motherboard is the Asus Prime X570P. To cool down that processor, they've gone with the Cooler Master CM212 Black, and the operating system on here is the Windows 10 Home Edition. In terms of the case, of course, as you can see, they've gone with the Corsair Spec 06 RGB. Another thing that I really like on this system is the fact that they've actually implemented by having a Wi-Fi card into there. Clearly they know that not all gamers have a wired connection where they want to put their PC, so instead they've put an AC1200 Wi-Fi card in there just to give you that extra kind of flexibility. So that's it for the spec really. I mean, obviously we need to look at other little things, and a lot of that comes down to build quality. So the other thing I want to see is on the other side, but I wanted to show you guys exactly how the system looks once it's all powered on, and kind of if they've done anything with the lighting and color control and things like that, because again, there's many different ways of lighting things up. Obviously, when it comes to inside this system, there isn't a huge amount of RGB. Yes, it's kind of primarily on the front of the case, so we have some RGB down here. We have a few little things in terms of on the GPU, which is currently cycling through kind of red. Other than that, there's not really a great deal going on. There's a tiny amount on the motherboard itself, nothing on the CPU cooler, but you do get a little bit of control over it as well. So if I actually turn this round so I can see as well, on the back, what they've actually done is put the Spec 06 controller on the back, and that includes our speed, color, and mode buttons. So looking at it, you can see that we do have a nice little bit of lighting coming down onto the bottom of the desk, but we can change things over a little bit just through kind of a click of a button. So we can change the mode, we can change the speed of it, how it actually sort of gets controlled, changing the colors. So we do get a little bit of customizability, I guess, with it. In terms of the fans, there's one at the front, one at the back. They're non-RGB, but I don't think it really needs to be. I kind of like the whole, I don't know, stealth look with just a little bit of subtle RGB on the front, and the fact that you can turn it off if it's not really your thing is, you know, a nice little thing to have. It's a little bit frustrating sometimes when it comes to RGB, having something on the back or on the front, or a controller button at the top where you can control the RGB of the elements of the case, but then for the GPU and the motherboard, you still have to go into the software to control it. Personally, that's just a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, but I think for the majority of users out there, once you do set it, it's going to be one of those kind of set it and forget it. So you could change your color scheme to what you want and just go from there. In terms of the components that they've chosen, I think they've actually done a pretty decent job of marrying everything up so that there's no real kind of bottleneck. Obviously, we do have an NVMe drive in here. Storage generally is going to be one of the biggest bottlenecks of any system, but we've got an NVMe drive which is going to, I guess, yeah, alleviate that completely. The fact that they've gone with the RTX 2060 graphics card as well as a Ryzen 7 3700X, I think it's just a nice pairing. I think if they went anything overboard on the GPU, it would kind of swamp the CPU a little bit, if that makes sense, or even vice versa. I think this is primarily going to be aimed at people who are looking at 1440p gaming. So talking about gaming, I think now it's time to look at them glorious benchmarks. Roll them. So there's the performance. I mean, nothing really that we didn't expect. It's, like I mentioned, a really good pairing with the 3700X and also the RTX 2060 graphics card. Now, one thing I do want to sort of comment on is pricing, because that comes down to one of the main reasons why you'd buy from a system integrator compared to building for yourself. Now, we actually looked at speccing up this whole system ourselves and sort of seeing how much it would cost to build it and what you get above and beyond from buying from AlphaSync. So you'll actually find that by building this system yourself, it's going to cost you in the UK around another 20, I think it's about 28, 30 pounds. And I mean, you're not really going to get anything extra from that. You're going to have to build it yourself. If you're a first-time builder, you're going to have to make sure that it's all compatible. You're going to have to do all of the cable management, which, while I sort of mentioned about cable management, I did say I was going to show you the other side, just so we can see what they've done there. Because, I mean, that does assist in sort of temperature, airflow, and things like that. And I want to make sure that they've done a pretty decent job. So why would you sort of build it yourself? So I'm going to just turn this off so I can turn it around and show you guys exactly what the cable management's like on this side. This is what you get when you go to AlphaSync. So basically they've done a very, very good job on this side. You're not even going to see this side, and I'm, I guess, a little bit sick of system integrators who, I don't know, don't really bother with this side. It does make a difference, but especially if you're looking at upgrading at a later date, or especially if, you know, you're getting problems with your temperatures and stuff like that. Sometimes it can come down to a mess of cables on this side. It can really, really make a difference, especially when you've got your hard drive down here and things like that. So they've done a good job. £30 extra to build it yourself. So to me, why would you want to build it yourself when you could get it all built for you by AlphaSync? And what do you get kind of above and beyond that? Well, compared to a normal system integrator, who generally at the time of ordering, you're going to be waiting a few days, sometimes up to a week for them to build it, stress test it, send it on to you, done. AlphaSync actually have these already spec'd up, built, in the warehouse, ready to go. So if you wanted to order this system today, it will actually be with you tomorrow. Next day working delivery. Now, it's going to come down to pricing of £1,349. They actually lowered the price of this system on Black Friday, and it seems like they've actually kept it consistently there, which I really, really like. The fact that, you know, maybe they got a good reception, they found that people really liked this spec of system at that price point, and they just kind of went from there. So yeah, you also get a 3-year warranty. So when it comes to the warranty, you're going to have obviously 2-year on your parts and 1-year labor. So you know, you're getting added value there as well. You're also getting support. You're getting the fact that it's built for you, and Windows 10 is installed, the drivers are installed. It's basically ready to go from the moment that you unbox it out of that big box. So why would you not buy it? So yeah, I actually had a chat with the AlphaSync guys a little while ago, and it seems like they're really onto sort of, you know, a good way of pushing into the system integrator market to make it as easy as possible for consumers to buy their systems. Buy it, be with you the next day, done, don't have to worry about it. Let me know in the comments section below, guys. Would you rather buy something from the likes of AlphaSync, which is going to work out cheaper, you're going to end up with a warranty, everything's going to be installed for you, or would you like to build it yourself? Some people just, I don't know, like doing that. But I think there's definitely some drawbacks with it. There you go, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you know exactly what to do, and I will see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.